Welcome to episode 11 of Quadocast, entitled What 98% of Our Community Doesn't Know. Late last year, Lewis scheduled the rec budget meeting for the night before Thanksgiving. Not at the usual 7 p.m., but rather 5:30 p.m. Not an in-person meeting, Zoom-only meeting. Only a paltry 24 showed up for the meeting. Subtract out the board members that had to be there, and you have 98% of our community that missed that meeting. Immediately after he sent out an email blast on November 13th, which was 14 days prior to the meeting, I reached out to him to ask why he was breaking tradition to go with a Zoom-only meeting. He responded, and right on cue, all the happy talk started coming. He said, "I just had my Britannia meeting about our preliminary budget and other matters meeting via Zoom, and it was actually a pleasurable 2.5-hour meeting." Let's reflect on this. You tell me on what planet a 2.5-hour meeting at Quado, Maine has ever been pleasurable, let alone if it's just Lewis pontificating, as we've all seen many times over in rec. But then Lewis continues with the happy talk. "It was really cool to engage owners in a robust and civilized discourse. The same is possible with a rec meeting via Zoom." He's selling Zoom to me like he's selling ice to an Eskimo. But the problem with Lewis, he always says the quiet part out loud, which he did in the next sentence, saying, "I'm certainly not going to spend money on another plane ride back to New Jersey for someone else's convenience, much less satisfaction." So in his reply, he believes I'm demanding him to be here in person, but what it really reveals, it is impossible for him to have an in-person meeting if he himself is not here in person. That's what he's saying. He's so much of a control freak, he could not handle just being a participant on Zoom if he personally couldn't make it. That somehow Quado Maine life couldn't go on without him, or him being in the room, or him being pontificator-in-chief. This is starting to happen with incumbents across all associations, an increasing tendency to become more insular, wanting to have less and less interaction with the community, even borderline being scared of facing the community. And the range of rationalizations I've heard to make the case for Zoom only are pathetic. And online, that's where the suppression starts. We've seen it. So many people with chat questions that go ignored. So many hands raised that never get their question asked. There are some board members who would as soon not have any meetings at all and only do so because they have to due to the sunshine laws. There's such a desperation to stay in control, especially when one becomes insular. Retreating to an online world is not healthy for any of us. This is really about an officer role, the president of an association, the one who sets the agenda for a meeting. And the second you have a president, no matter how good intentioned, who cannot run a meeting, has no business being president, and other board members should never elect such a person. Or at the very least, the board should, or reorganize a board to make sure that never happens. Let's get back to the 14-day notice given for the rec budget meeting. Guess what? It's a violation of our bylaws. Oops, he did it again. Lewis, president of 2 associations, has violated the bylaws of both Britannia and rec by giving 14-day notice instead of 30-day notice. 11 days before the meeting, I wrote an email to the office to point this out and get a definitive answer. Notice should be 30 days. The meeting could have easily been rescheduled, avoided a holiday conflict, and would not have interfered with towers and the budgets they had to pass. There was still plenty of time to get everything done before the first of the year. And this is when the happy talk turned into lies. Look at the reply from Lewis. "There is no mystery. We have the option of either a 14-day notice or a 30-day notice. It's the board's prerogative which time frame makes sense." Think about how quickly, easily, and readily he could just make shit up on the fly. Think about what he just said. That they have the option, it's their prerogative. Even the slowest and most misinformed among us would know no dice. It is one way or the other. It's either 14 days or 30 days. Pretty simple. Do any of you believe for a second that any lawyer on this planet would say it's the board's prerogative, they can have their choice at their whim, and that's precisely what makes Lewis so dangerous? Any normal, responsible person with a fiduciary duty would do the same thing. Ask a lawyer and report it back to the association. But this email I started that has turned into an endless thread has been going on for 2 months, still without an answer. Or rather, the only answers are claims that the lawyer weighed in and everything's okay, but yet they won't provide the proof of such. Any normal administration that is answering a question based on our docs should be posted. It is non-controversial. It helps us to all get along better as a community and get on the same page with regarding how we govern ourselves. So not only does it seem that Lewis is either not getting a legal opinion or suppressing legal opinion regarding the spouse serving concurrently in his Britannia Tower, there is suppression right now on rec of the legal opinion regarding this query about notice. It does not entirely fall on Lewis anymore because, to be frank, since November 17th when he wrote that bullshit reply, he's completely dropped out and gone radio silent now. But to play block and tackle for him is none other than Janelle, who is also part of the rec legal committee. First thing they did was they took ownership of this matter. They said, hey, office, no need to respond. We got it. If there's any responses, we'll do that. So she starts off trying to do the right thing, writing a note to the lawyer, as you can see here. But what she writes is very revealing. She's saying, please see below, meaning my query. This is what I wanted to avoid. Then she comments, what's funny is last year there's quite literally 2 days notice no one batted an eye, which indicates she's not even taking the request seriously. And the last sentence most revealing. She says, our property has become litigation heavy due to Mr. Sandoval, that's Oscar, and his clan of 38. Just want to make sure we're doing things right to avoid even more litigation. So when a unit owner asks a question about her governing docs and seeking some guidance, somehow in her mind she's so shell-shocked that that has anything to do with litigation? What is going on with her? And what about this clan of 38? I mean, seriously, she'd been building a list of perceived enemies for about a year or too long? Like, where is this number coming from? Like, that's insane. And even more insane, she's writing this to our lawyer. Do we really want a board member communicating this way to a lawyer? So to step back for the timeline, this is 11 days before the meeting, on a Saturday, forwarding to the lawyer on the 16th. Lewis and his reply saying it's his prerogative to choose any which day he wants was on a Sunday the next day, the 17th. You think the lawyer replied to him over the weekend? No way. Yet in future emails from Janelle, she plays a sequence game as if what Lewis said was backed up by the lawyer. It is known that the lawyer responded to her on the 19th. She still refuses to post it or release it. Instead, she pretends that it was already sent to me, playing bureaucracy games with the office and Lewis. She uses the same predictable playbook of tactics for just about any query. It's easy to not see it or miss, right? Her answers always start out polite and only answering the low-hanging fruit questions, while completely ignoring anything that is substantive, especially if it goes against what she already said, because she's one of those double downers. We have too many double downers among us. Lewis is one. Marlem was the biggest double downer of them all. So getting back to that email thread, about 5 weeks later, after all the manufactured bureaucracy from Janelle, she declares in an email to myself, the office, and Lewis that, oh, she's out. This is no longer my problem. I'm no longer going to respond to any of it. Feel free to get your answers direct from the office. And remember what we're talking about. We're talking about the lawyer's answer to the letter she wrote, the one she has, the one she solely is responsible for owning and running the ball and not replying and actually interfering with the operation of the association because of it. But it gets better, because I do take her up on it. I go to the office. I follow channels. I'm doing everything in step. And for what? For the association to give a simple answer, definitive answer, whether we abide by 14-day notice or 30-day notice. But guess who got to the office first? Janelle. Guess what she instructed the office? To not reply to my whom it may concern letter of December 16th. She made those instructions verbally so there'd be no proof. Think about what she did. She's playing both sides. She said the office is free to reply, and they were starting to. She intercepted it, stopped it. This is abuse of power and the beginning of coercion of staff. In fact, she's turning into mini Marlem. Overall, good news. The office has been in a little better shape in last year, but this is a regression. The problem with Janelle is if the offense is jaywalking, her cover-up is a triple homicide. She will go to the ends of the earth to cover up even the smallest of anything around here, and that's what makes her dangerous. Think about what a stupid move it is to put the office on the front line in harm's way of her bullshit. I feel so bad for the office to have to be put in this position so unnecessarily. I go in there and ask, hey, when's that reply coming? Or can I get that document? I can't. What do you mean you can't? Well, I can't. It was pulling teeth with them, and I have so much respect for them. They were doing the best they could to try to abide by even bad instructions. The difference between the office and Janelle is the office not even once has ever lied. Janelle is the liar, the manipulator, the deceiver. Do not be fooled because she appears to be polite or competent at times on the surface. We just went through this nightmare with Marlem. If you're in Valencia or know anyone in Valencia, it is imperative that you do not vote for her, because we're talking about a 2-year term. I know this might come to a shock to some of you, but this is ongoing pattern behavior by her, with plenty of evidence to support such behavior. I'm not at the point of endorsing anyone yet. If I even do endorse, I'm going to wait till the candidates meeting. But it is slam dunk to say that Janelle has no business to serve us anymore. And this is not an answer for me. It's an answer for all of us. It's small, but it matters. And it demonstrates if a board could not even perform their fiduciary duty and reply to just a simple question, how can you have any trust or faith in them for the real stuff that matters around here? And this goes beyond on the board. I had reached out to all board members of all associations. They all know about this thread. None of them weighed in. They're all sitting there watching it hopelessly while we watch the Lewis and Janelle show screw it up and do anything except answer it. The only answer is a vague one. Janelle saying, no, we checked it with the lawyer, everything's fine. Kept it vague and ambiguous. But don't you think 2 months later, if the lawyer truly weighed in and said a 14-day notice was okay, they'd want to be loud and proud and tell everyone about it? They'd simply provide that as an answer. Done deal. Question answered. We all move on. The reason they are hiding that legal response is because either Janelle has overstepped her bounds and posed as an authority, which is not the first time, to provide an authoritative answer that's just not true, or the lawyer answered partial on another matter and didn't address it, or the lawyer agreed and it was 30-day notice and they are hiding it from all of us and they are lying. And what does that advance or serve if we have to go through this next year? So even though 50% of our rec board is new, it's the old 50% hanging on and nothing has changed, doing it the same way. That's why all the incumbents must go. People, this is a change election and there are people running with really good bios. Some people I've seen up front firsthand how they work on a committee level, that they're detail and process oriented. And believe it or not, among other things, actually read legal contracts. They are process people. They are meticulous. They are detail oriented and ultimately deliver the better governance we're sorely missing and long overdue for. So Lewis and Janelle got to start playing block and tackle for Marlem. Now they run the show and do it for everyone else. They're the ones first on the list that must go. But then you got to ask yourself, who's associated with them, that support them, think they're actually doing it right, doing it well? The answer is just about all the incumbents. They came in together. It's now our time to make sure they go out together. On that note, wishing everyone a great week ahead.